What's up, everyone? Found this rad location overlooking downtown LA, and I'm out here with the all-new 2024 Triumph Daytona 660. So we're out here in downtown LA for the launch of the Daytona 660 tonight. I had a chance to ride this bike for the press launch about a month and a half ago in SoCal, through twisties, through a lot of different stuff, and the bike is amazing. And I'm gonna tell you why. So I've been waiting for this one for a while. I didn't know what they were gonna do with the Daytona. There were rumors that it was gonna come back. There were rumors that it was never gonna come back, that it was done for good. And for me, the Daytona is a very near and dear platform. It's basically what got Nick and myself involved with the brand, was the Street Triple or the Daytona, which was basically based off the same chassis, the 675. Great bike, one of the greatest bikes. In my opinion, the first generation Daytona is one of the best bikes ever built, period. And the reason I say that is the bike just does everything well. And for me, that kind of always signified what the Daytona was. It was a bike that did everything well. It had great suspension, great brakes, great power, super linear power curve, amazing handling, little light, good looks, and the thing was just a weapon. So the tank itself, it's more or less the same shape as the older Daytonas. It just has all these weird modern cutouts that just give it such a really good flow. It's got this center strap that goes up just to kind of break the smoothness of the tank and disrupt it, just to give it a little bit more in terms of the lines of the bike. It just looks really good. In terms of the front end just, they nailed it with the headlights, in my opinion. It's just really aggressive, looks really good. The color, this one's like a matte black. This is, I think, one of two in the country. So I got lucky on managing to be able to get my hands on it. This one is the matte black with, it's got like some neon chartreuse kind of highlights around it. Does come with Michelin Power 6 tires. So really good tires front and back. You do lose out a little bit on suspension. The suspension, it's got Showa suspension. It just lacks adjustability. And I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh wow, we lack the adjustability. But in riding this thing feels really good. The suspension was really awesome. Felt good through the twisties, handled the compression, the turns, the elevation changes all really well. I was actually surprised, being non-adjustable suspension, how well it handled. Brakes wise, you still get the front radial mount calipers up in the front. You get a remote master cylinder. The frame itself is hidden. They went ahead and they engineered and designed this plastic cover that goes over the frame, so it hides the exposed frame and just gives it a really cool look in terms of tying it all in with the gray and the other gray highlights on the bike. Looks really good. The motor itself has the traditional kind of two-tone case covers, to where the motor itself is black, but the case covers have this matte kind of gunmetal gray on them. So that ties in with this frame cover that I was talking about. Gives it a really good look in terms of overall package, and just ties everything in with a 660 down there and the chartreuse, and then the under chassis exhaust. The swing arm itself is all blacked out, rad 5-spoke wheels. So all in all, looks wise, this thing looks really good. So the OE bike does come with a passenger seat from the manufacturer, but they do make an accessory cowl for it, and I have seen it, and it looks really good on here. It just ties over the lines of the bike and just kind of makes everything look more sleek, and just kind of brings it all together, in my opinion. It's a really cool thing. If I had one, for sure I would go with that rear accessory cowl. Just looks really good. But the front end for me is what does it. The front end is so good. It just looks so mean and sinister. The mirrors themselves are adjustable, so you can pull on them and you can set them to wherever you want. And then when you're done, it's just an easy kind of put away when you're, parking the bike in the garage, whatever it might be. But all in all, really good. Front end's got this like inner cowl. It does have these little carbon fiber accents everywhere. Underneath the headlights, on the back side of the fairing itself, you get these little carbon fiber fins on each end. This does come with the riding modes. You have sport, rain, road, all the different riding modes. that come kind of traditional on most of the Daytonas of the past. But all in all, a really cool package. They did a good job in just kind of revamping it, but giving it a mean look, but going ahead and tying in some new things. Like, we had never seen one of these frame covers before, in my opinion. I know it's just a plastic cover, but man, it adds to the overall look of the bike. So I know everybody's gonna ask, why wasn't this a 765? And I'm gonna explain why. So in my opinion, what's happening today in this day and age is that the price of bikes has just skyrocketed. All bikes have gone up. I remember when a 600 was $7,000–8,000. Granted, this was years ago, but at the same time, the price has gone so high for bikes. Even back home where I live in Albuquerque, a lot of the kids that are at the stunt lot, and this just doesn't pertain to stunt riders, but a lot of the kids that I see getting into stunt riding or even getting into riding for the first time, they're all going to littler, smaller, less inexpensive bikes. And it's a trend that's going on. That's why a lot of the manufacturers are building these smaller 600cc bikes that are a little bit more affordable. So I get it. It's almost like a lot of the new riders have never ridden before, so they don't want to jump in and buy a 1000cc bike right out of the get. They want something that's a little bit more manageable, something that's a little bit more in the price range, but still performs well. So I get why it's kind of gone that way, and why the OEMs have kind of pushed off in that direction. It makes total sense. You got to go where the customer is. That being said, this bike is a lot for, I'm not too sure what the price point is going to be yet, but this is a lot of bike for what I'm assuming is going to be quite affordable cost. So in my opinion, every Daytona has been an amazing motorcycle. From first gen to the second gen, they've all just been really, really good bikes. In my opinion, the first gen was the king of the crop though. The second gen was really good, but for some reason the first gen to me just felt like it was a tighter package, handled a little bit better. I remember the first time I rode it on track, it felt like a supermoto. It was just little, light, flickable. You're able to throw it around. And that was my favorite thing about the Daytona, is that it did everything well. Really good suspension, a really linear power curve, so it's really friendly for the rider. And the best thing is that it instills so much confidence in the rider. You get on the bike and you just feel invincible. You feel like you could do everything that you throw at it and then some. And that for me is invaluable. At the end of the day, it's a great bike. I get why Triumph built what they built. For those of you that are worried that it's not a 765 and that it's this and that, and you're mad that the Daytona isn't what you thought it was going to be, you got to put yourself in the shoes of where the market's going. There's not a lot of people that are buying these kind of fast bikes or more expensive bikes. A lot of people just want a good bike for the money, and this is it. It's got great looks, it's got all the good stuff, great handling, great suspension, still got the radial mount brakes. The brakes were good. It's got friendly power. It does everything well, and that for me is what is traditional Daytona. It's not that it's the fastest bike, it's not that it's the best bike for the track, it's not that it's the best bike for stunt riding, it's that it's the best bike for everything. So that to me is what Daytona stands for, in my opinion, and this bike doesn't miss nowhere. This bike is a Daytona through and through, whether you want to admit it or not, because Daytona to me just stands for something that does everything well, because that's what all the Daytonas have been in the past, and this one follows in the same footsteps. So all that being said, I can't wait to get my hands on one and build one, turn one into a stunt bike, turn one into a drift bike, ride it on the track, basically do anything I want with it, because this thing will handle it all. And that for me is why I love Daytonas and street triples, and will always love Daytonas and street triples despite the package. This thing is an amazing looking bike, handles good, does everything well, and like I said, get out and ride one, judge for yourself. These are all just my opinions on why I've always been a fan of the Daytonas, regardless of color, size, doesn't matter. Daytonas have just always been solid bikes through and through, and I can't wait to get my hands on one and get building. So until that happens, I will see you on the next one. I got a bunch of other builds and stuff going. We got the Daytona launch party tonight, so it's gonna be good times, and we're off to the races here in 2024. So until the next one, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.